Hello. Welcome to my first chatty video, or at least that's what I want to call them, chatty videos. So who am I? I am Lily Howe. I am the founder and director of GRO Coaching and Consulting Limited. And I just wanted to start chatting to you. So many of you will hopefully follow me already on Instagram. I have my handle in my description. Come and say hello. I'd always love to hear from you there. But if you don't know me, then let me tell you a bit about who I am and why I've set up this channel. So first and foremost, I run my business, like I said. So I decided to go self-employed in February of this year. And my work is essentially split into two. So the first thing is my coaching business, where essentially I help individuals who are feeling burnt out, exhausted, disconnected, unfocused, frazzled, fried, all those sorts of adjectives. And I help them untangle what it is that has got them there. And what I've noticed is I typically seem to work with women who I love. And usually what's happened is that we have given so much of ourselves, because often we are high performing, empathetic individuals who essentially have given so much of ourselves away that we get to a point where we're like, I don't even feel like me anymore. Who even am I? Because I've just given so much of me to my kids, to my job, to my husband, wife, partner, whoever it might be, or to something else outside of us. And often we're praised for that, especially as women. We're praised to just give relentlessly until we have nothing left. And it's like, you come last, focus on the other people. Anyway, I'll come to that. But that's one side of my business. And it's a part that I love and the part that I want to focus on for this chatty channel. But the other side of my business is, for the last 10 years nearly, I have been in a HR capacity of some sort. So predominantly for me, I've worked in recruitment, training, onboarding, performance management, all of that sort of more people process side, the more people-centric side, I'd say, less of the compliance, disciplinaries, etc. So for me, my coaching really ties into my HR and people experience work as well. And that's also the other side of my business. So usually you'll find me working with businesses and other HR teams to support them in giving capacity or capability, whatever it is that they need. And then also bringing my coaching into organizations to either support them with the training that I offer, or on the performance side of things and well-being side of things. So obviously, as I've said already, a lot of what I do is around well-being for coaching, and naturally that plays a part in our everyday lives, and our everyday typically sees us in work. So yes, in a nutshell, that is me, professionally at least. And then personally, I am someone who loves to stay active. I have previously been a personal trainer. Again, that was many moons ago, but have always had such a keen enthusiasm for staying fit, staying well, and really also debunking again what it is that society tells us that we need to do to stay fit, healthy, and well, instead of actually what we really need to stay fit, healthy, and well. And within that as well, specifically around how much of women's health is unexplored, completely unresearched, and how we can bring that into feeling at our best. And I think, keeping active is such a big part for me, for not only my physical health, but really for me, it is all about my mental health. I am definitely someone who shows a lot of ADHD, autism traits. I haven't been diagnosed, but I have had a counselor tell me that they think that that is what I might have. And this particular counselor used to specialize specifically in SEN students. So I think she probably has a good understanding of this. But for all of my spiritual people that are out there watching, then sometimes you might say to yourself, am I ADHD or am I just a manifesting generator, which is all about human design. And in that sort of same breath, I'm a big fan of spirituality, astrology, human design, sort of the belief in more out there in the universe, like quantum physics and shifting timelines, and how I think all of us are here to do more than just wake up, go to work, die, essentially. I think all of us are here to unwind in our own story, and I have a very positive outlook on what these things could be for each of us. And I think that, unfortunately, the world will make you think that lots of what's going on, and of course there are lots that's going on that is very negative, but I try to, as best as I can, be a pragmatist, sorry, but also keep that optimism of, I think there's a lot more good people out there than there are bad, which you wouldn't think if you follow the mainstream news a lot of the time. I also have an invisible disability. So when I was 16, 15 years ago, I was diagnosed with a chronic pain condition in my leg. And it is something that you can have operations on, one of which I have had, which was unsuccessful. It's incurable, but they can try and do certain things to manage your pain. So that's something that I have had to deal with since I was 16. So yeah, for 15 years now. That's been a whole journey in itself. I didn't even realize that this was an invisible disability until 2 years ago. I didn't realize that chronic pain was considered a disability. So that was something quite interesting for me on my own personal journey. I was like, oh, I'm technically disabled. I had no idea that that was a thing. So I haven't really explored it any further other than just knowing that that's what I can call this. So basically, I have something called an intermuscular vascular malfunction, which is a mouthful, where basically the blood flows into my leg, but it doesn't flow out. So it's one of my quadricep muscles that this is within. And it was quite interesting because when I was 16, they did actually say to me, the doctors, the specialists had said, it's not going to get worse. It's just going to be what it is for your life, basically. And at the time I was told it was quite rare to get them in your leg. Some people get them in their face, in their hands, and typically that doesn't affect them as much. But obviously for me, it's in such a big key muscle. You're always on your feet, basically. And like I've just said, I love being active. I love getting into the gym, lifting weights, going on walks. So when I was 16, it was painful. Now it's even more painful. And I have had follow-up MRI scans. It has got bigger and it has got worse. So it's quite an interesting story for me that is unfurling as we go. By the way, if this runs out at any point, this microphone, I won't know unless I see it on the camera. So let's hope it holds out. So my leg. So that's something that I deal with every day. So for me and my condition, I wake up in pain, I go about my day in pain, I go to bed in pain, repeat. Now, I'm lucky because a lot of what I still have a lot of functionality and a lot of capability despite the pain. So for me, I've learned to walk differently so I don't put as much pressure on that leg. I have adapted in the gym so that, again, I'm, if I'm riding a bike, I'm using mostly my right leg, not my left leg, lots of different things there. But there will be a time where this gets very difficult for me. I imagine as I'm older in age, everyone says to you when you're old, you've got to look after yourself, because especially your legs, because if your legs are wobbly, that's the main cause of trips, slips and falls, which at an older age can be fatal. So who knows where my journey will go and what my life will look like then. And who knows, they might actually have something that fully cures it by then. So we hold hope. But I think all of this is what has brought me to wanting to do more chatty videos, because there's so much more to me that I want to express to you, but there's also more that I want to talk to you about, that you can ask me questions. I can answer these things. So the comments is always open for full conversation. Like, I don't want to just be chatting to nobody. I want you to ask me questions that you might have as well. So definitely, if you're someone that's navigating an invisible disability, I'm of course not an expert, but I'd like to hear your story and anything that you do as well, perhaps to manage what you have. But also the invisible disability side of things, women's health side of things, it's all certain elements that have brought me to wanting to become a coach, because I think there's just so much wisdom that we all hold about ourselves, about our bodies, about our beings, that we aren't taught to tap into. Especially, again, I'm going to say this again, I'm generalizing, but especially as women, I think, you are often told to, maybe put your feelings to one side. You're more likely to be misdiagnosed or left undiagnosed at your GP surgery. I'm based in the UK, at least I think that's the stats for the UK and the US. Again, I'm not really too sure. I'm not going to be preaching gospel here, but there's a lot of information out there which, again, sort of doesn't support any of us really listening to our bodies. And I think society as a whole, for men and women, non-binary people as well, anyone really, all humans, quite frankly, to disconnect from their body and to consume. And a big ethos that I have is to simplify, shift, and sustain. And they're sort of my 3 pillars for GRO, whether that be on the people side, so my HR side, or whether that be in the coaching, which is that often what we need to do is take a moment to pause and think, right, what is actually going on here? How am I feeling? What is happening? What are the circumstances? What is this whole picture trying to tell me, trying to teach me, whatever it might be. And then from that, we can, once we've simplified, we can then shift our focus. So we've unpicked that a little bit now. We know what's going on. We know what the messages are. We know what maybe we're trying to be told by our bodies, because often our bodies are trying to speak to us in some way. And then we can say, right, okay, well, if that's the simple message, then how can I shift to support that drive forward and to support myself, to support my well-being, to support what my body is needing, crying out for, etc. And then we can sustain that. And again, I think a big disservice that we have in modern society is this sort of relentless need to consume. So often what you'll see is someone goes, I feel so fatigued, and people are saying like, yeah, add this, add that, get this lavender night oil, like buy all these supplements, go for a walk before bed or whatever. And a lot of these things have the best intentions, but they are still encouraging us to consume, to add. And actually that can be really overwhelming if the reason you're struggling is because you're overwhelmed, and then you've got all these other things like push and go and add and do. And I think a lot of the work that I like to do with individuals is to peel that back. And this might resonate with you right now as you're watching this video and you're thinking, yeah, like I've got a lot on my plate, because many of us do. And actually, what is it that I need to sort of strip away and listen to, and actually maybe just listen to what my body needs without adding anything to it? And yeah, sometimes you do need to add some stuff, but often what I like to think is actually it's more about removing those obstacles perhaps that are getting in the way of what we know we need, as opposed to the immediate default being, right, let's go and let's add all these different things. Because I really like this quote from Chris Williamson, who is a podcaster, which said, if you pick something up, you need to put something else down. And I think it goes to show very clearly about, our energy levels. And often when people come to me for coaching, they're usually saying things like, oh, I feel like this, then my body is reacting this way. So for example, it could be, I'm feeling really disconnected. I went to the gym the other day and I've like pulled something in my back, and I just can't seem to like get anything done that I want to get done. Like I just can't lock in, and I've tried this, I've tried that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And actually, again, it's just about, okay, pause, take a deep breath. What is your body telling you? And coaching's fantastic because you can unravel and unfurl all these things. It holds space for you to do that. But actually, lots of us just need the space to unravel these things, And that's why I wanted to come and do these chatty things, because again, you might hear something in these chatty videos that makes you go, "Oh, that sounds really like where I'm at right now in my life, and I really need to hear this." So this is why I thought, here we go. Let's have some conversation and let's see what comes up. And again, I am not an expert in everything. I'm just here to have a chat with you and hopefully help you along the way, entertain you along the way as well. And we'll see where we go. So that's a bit more about my background. Again, like I said, the spirituality side of things. So I'm often pulling cards. I love doing that. We could do something like that together on the channel. Let me know if that's something that you are interested in the comments below. And what else? So I am married. I have been with my husband for a very long time, since I was 18. We met when I was 18. And we have not had a straight line relationship, which maybe I will delve into another time. But we have been happily married now for over a year, and together for, gosh, how long is it now? 9 years. 9 years. Crazy. But have been essentially together really since 2013, which is crazy. Just with a few gaps at the start, which maybe I will digress another time. Because again, everyone's life looks different, and I think it's important to talk about, advocate for different pathways, but also again just to share some realities of things not always being linear. And again, that's what I like to do, just give you a very honest, grounded background of, life looks very different to lots of people. On that same vein, I went to school and college, which is, I don't know what the equivalent is in America, but I didn't go to uni because I decided I wanted to go straight into work and not have the debt. So that was quite an interesting time. I have no regrets for doing that. I went straight into hairdressing when I was 18. So got myself enough grades that if I wanted to go to university, I could, but chose to get a trade under my belt. And I tell you what, hairdressing still comes into handy now. So I was hairdressing for like 2.5 years. I still do my own hair dye. I still cut some friends' hair if they ever need it. I tell you, these services, they will stay with you forever. Again, a very non-linear journey. So I like to, again, bring some realism into what life can look like for lots of different people. I didn't just immediately know I wanted to go into HR when I was like 5 years old. That was not something that I thought about. And I actually didn't even know I wanted to do coaching until like mid of last year. Obviously, when I was a personal trainer, you're a coach, but I mean like more one-to-one people coaching was something I didn't even know I wanted to do until last year. Got qualified this year, and then have had some wonderful clients this year. So yeah, and then what else? What else do you need to know? Oh, I love to travel. Have lived in Sydney, Australia for a year. Back when I was 20. So that was 7 years ago now. So I would have been 23 or 4, which was amazing. One of the best experiences of my life, 100%. And have traveled to lots of different countries across Europe. Obviously, being in the UK, it's very close by. But also have done Thailand, Bali, Australia, some of the US, some more Central America like Mexico, and yeah, lots of different places, but so many places still left on the bucket list. And again, I think we should talk about that in another video. But I love traveling, exploring, meeting new people, finding out what differences we have. But also, I think when you travel, like, and you meet quite a lot of different people from all different walks of life, you do begin to realize actually we are all the same, with nuances, of course, but like, our core, our kindness, our curiosity, this, like, I don't know, this shared understanding that we all have as a collective is insane. And I love going traveling just to meet such wonderful, open-minded people as well. So I love to travel. I have 2 miniature Dachshunds, whom I love with all of my heart. They will no doubt feature on a future video as well. But yeah, I can't believe that we are at, what are we at? New Year's Eve. It's that weird time between Christmas and New Year where I just don't know where I am, who I am, what day it is, what the date is, what the hell is happening. But yeah, 2025, it has been a trip. It's been a trip. How has it been for you? I know that the Chinese astrology for the year was that we're in Year of the Snake. It has very much felt that way. I don't know about you, but there were certain lessons that I had to learn again and again and again this year, which is very much the vibe of the Year of the Snake. It's a death and rebirth with like the snake shedding its skin and all that sort of thing. Very, very interesting. And we're now moving into 2026, and from February, I'm not sure what date in February, but we'll be moving into the year of the horse. So who knows what that might bring? Hopefully something good. And what else has gone on this year? But yeah, this year's just been crazy. Oh, I was saying that it's New Year's Eve. I think it's a really nice time to do some reflecting, of what has gone well and what you may have learned and what you want to maybe do slightly differently in the year coming. That being said, whilst there is a collective energy that this is the final year, lots of people don't like to do this sort of practice until we get into more February, March, April time when we're moving into spring, because spring is nature's new year. And it can feel like sometimes as well, you set these intentions at this time of year in December, and actually it's not really until March, April, May that you start to see these things really take fruition. So it's quite interesting, but I always think, and I always would say, take what resonates when it resonates. And if it doesn't, don't worry about that. If it doesn't feel like now's the right time to be planning ahead for next year, then don't do it. If it does, then, give it a go, have a little think. I personally like to do an end of year audit, basically. What's gone well, like I said, who have I got closer to, who have I met this year, what lessons did I have to learn, did I learn them, what would I need to do to make sure that I continue to stay on the right track for 2026, or if I'm looking at different years, obviously the year ahead. And there's a couple of different practices that I really like to use. Some good journal prompts in there, some quite, raw reflections as well of things that might have happened, because, some years things really don't go to plan. You might have loss. You just, can't, life has a way of lifing. But I think it's really important to consolidate what has happened so that when we go into the next year, we have a better sense of who we are, what we've done, and also what we need to know to shape our future. So I personally like doing it at this end of year. There is something that I quite like about it being the end of a year before we move into the following. And then I normally would do an intention setting around now, on Christmas. It's not Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, or very early into the New Year's, about setting intentions. Now, my intention for next year is to flourish. So this year, my intention was to build. And funnily enough, I set that before I even realized I was going to go self-employed. because I went self-employed quite opportunistically, because I was offered a contract that was a self-employed contract. But again, life has a way of falling into place in a way that you can't even imagine, even if you did try and imagine it this way. And it has been a fantastic year in so many ways, but also very, very difficult in lots of ways as well. And I think I feel like, and I heard this again on a different podcast, Rachel Braithen, yoga girl, in her intention setting practice, which is normally you set your intentions for the following year based on something you were missing in the year you're currently in. And I wouldn't say I didn't flourish this year, but it has certainly been a year of learning and definitely a lot of challenges. Setting up a business, like, it's hard. And there's a lot that goes with that you don't even realize is going to change, like your routine, like and with your routine, like the time that you have to give to other things, your well-being, your friends, your family, your partner, like whatever it is. And so I felt like, what I really want to do next year is just love it, like flourish, love life, like step into my power, really enjoy what I'm doing, and feel a bit more stable. But stable just felt a little bit like, do you know what? No, like I want to go above stable. I want to be like, yeah, this is great. So flourish is my word, but I haven't actually done my intention setting practice yet. That's yet to come. So if that's something that you want to do, then I think, now's a really lovely time. And especially if you've got some time off of work, then using this time can be really useful. Obviously, everyone has things that they're doing outside of work. But what I'm saying is, if you've removed one of those things that you're normally juggling, sometimes it can be helpful to invite yourself in to do this practice. But often I think it's just, again, really about holding that space for yourself. How am I feeling? And how do I want to feel? How do I want things to look? How do I want things to feel? How do I want things to be? And how do I want to be? How do I want to bring myself, my energy into next year? Because, I'm a firm believer that we shape our reality. So if we're going to, try and bring something to life next year, how do we have to be in order to bring that to life? And what does that look like? How does that feel? Etc. So that's my first chatty video. Let me know what you think, but we'll have more topic-based discussions moving forward. I was thinking about maybe doing one around masculine and feminine energy, which can be really an insightful topic for many people, and can be a really good one to start considering at the start of a year, when often it is all go, go, go. I could do some more meditative based stuff. So one of the things I really like to do is a perfect day visualization. That can actually be fantastic in setting intentions then for your year, because when you imagine your perfect day, you can almost deduce what it is that you want to bring to life because you've already been imagining it, and it can feel a lot more tangible when you think about it. So we could talk a bit about that. But yeah, I'd love to know really from you, what is it that you want to see? And did you enjoy this at least intro video? Because if so, please like this, subscribe if you want to see more. Obviously, it's really early doors, so I only have this video right now, but please bear with me. More is yet to come. And I can't believe how dry my throat has got from speaking for just 30 minutes nearly. That's crazy. I'm going to have to stay hydrated. Look at this bottle. This is not product placement. I am not sponsored. But I have this whole... Oops. I have this whole big thing of water here. So I need to go glug this because I feel dry as a chip. But it's been lovely to chat to you. Thank you for being here. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Happy New Year.